Jax's revenge domain. The radio crackled and Anthony Walsh's voice cut through the wind like a knife. He fired me for refusing to skip a safety inspection that could have killed my whole crew. He thought he had all the power because corporate sent him down from their fancy offices. He was wrong. I was sitting 180 feet up in a crane, controlling a 25-ton shipping container, and I decided to show him exactly what happens when you push a Navy vet too far. My name's Gary Thompson, I'm 49 years old, and I've been running cranes at this port for 26 years. Started as an apprentice right after I got out of the Navy in '98, worked my way up to senior operator. These days they call me Iron because I can hold a load steady in weather that sends other guys scrambling for cover. The thing about being in the Navy is you learn real quick that following procedure keeps people alive. I served on the USS Roosevelt during Desert Storm, working flight deck operations. You know what happens when you skip safety checks on a carrier? Jets don't launch, or worse, they crash on takeoff with a full fuel load. I watched good sailors die because someone thought they could cut corners to meet a deadline. That's why when some 32-year-old MBA in a $1,000 suit tells me to skip brake inspections, my blood pressure goes through the roof. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Bay Maritime Holdings used to be a family operation. Old man Patterson ran it for 45 years, treated his workers like human beings instead of line items on a spreadsheet. When he decided to retire last year, his kids weren't interested in the business. Sold it to some investment group from back east, and that's when our troubles started. The new owners brought in what they called efficiency consultants to squeeze every penny out of operations. Anthony Walsh was their golden boy, fresh out of business school with big plans to revolutionize how we did things. Problem was, Walsh had never worked a real job in his life. Never had grease under his fingernails or spent 10 hours in a crane cab watching fog roll in off the Pacific. I live about 20 minutes from the port in a little house I bought when Jennifer was born. Jennifer's my daughter. She's 20 now, studying marine biology at UC Davis. Wants to save the ocean, she says, starting with cleaning up the plastic floating around out there. Smart kid. Takes after her mother that way. My ex-wife Linda always said Jennifer got my stubborn streak, but her brains, which is probably why the kid's on the dean's list. Jennifer's tuition runs about $35,000 a year, and even with her academic scholarship covering half, I'm still looking at serious money. My pension from the port covers it, but only if I make it to retirement without getting fired or losing my license. That's why Walsh's little power play hit me where it hurt. The morning everything went sideways started normal enough. Dense fog rolling off the Pacific, seagulls fighting over yesterday's lunch scraps, and the usual symphony of diesel engines and metal on concrete echoing across the dock. I was running through my pre-shift inspection when I noticed we were 5 hours over schedule for the brake system check. That might not sound like much, but crane brakes aren't like car brakes. When you're moving 25 tons of steel 180 feet above people's heads, brake failure means death. Period. The inspection takes 20 minutes. You check the hydraulic pressure, test the emergency stops, verify the load monitoring system. Basic stuff that keeps everyone breathing. I had Carl Weber with me that morning, learning the ropes. Carl's 23, son of my buddy Danny Weber, who didn't make it back from Afghanistan. Danny and I served together on the Roosevelt, and when he deployed to Kandahar in 2009, I promised I'd look after Carl if anything happened. Danny stepped on an IED outside Kabul, so now I teach his boy how to operate heavy equipment the right way. Carl's a good kid, smart hands, listens when you talk to him. Reminds me of his old man that way, but he's still green, still learning that there's a difference between being fast and being efficient. Speed kills people in this business. Efficiency keeps them alive. Gary, why are we checking the same systems every 200 hours? Carl asked, watching me go through the brake inspection checklist. Because that's when stress fractures start showing up, I told him. Your daddy taught me something in the Navy. Never trust your life to equipment that hasn't been properly maintained. These brakes fail. We're not just dealing with property damage, we're dealing with body bags. That's when the radio squawked. Thompson, you copy? Anthony Walsh's voice always reminded me of fingernails on a chalkboard. I'd been dealing with his demands for 6 months, ever since corporate brought him in to increase throughput by 30%. Every week, it was something new. Skip the pre-shift safety meeting, reduce inspection intervals, push the weight limits on containers. Copy, I replied, continuing my checklist. The hydraulic pressure looked good, but I still needed to test the emergency stops. Skip the brake check today. We've got 12 containers coming off the morning freight that need to be on trucks by noon. corporates breathing down my neck about throughput numbers. I stopped what I was doing. Carl looked at me, probably wondering why I'd gone quiet. The kid didn't understand yet that some conversations change everything. "Negative on that, Walsh," I said into the radio. "We're 5 hours over schedule for brake inspection. Takes 20 minutes, then we're good to go." "I'm not asking, Thompson, I'm telling you. We're behind quota for the quarter and every minute costs money. Get that crane moving now." Carl's eyes went wide. Even green as he was, the kid understood that what Walsh was asking could get people killed. "Listen, Walsh," I said, keeping my voice level but letting the steel show through. "I've got an apprentice up here learning the ropes. I'm not teaching him to skip safety checks so you can impress some bean counters who've never set foot on a dock." The radio went quiet for a long moment. Down below, I could see Walsh standing next to his shiny BMW, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. He was under pressure. I got that. But pressure doesn't change physics, and it sure as hell doesn't change what happens when 25 tons of steel goes into freefall. When Walsh came back on the radio, his voice had that dangerous edge that weak men get when they think someone's challenging their authority. "Thompson, you're relieved. Shut down the crane and report to my office immediately. For following company safety protocols, for insubordination. And while we're at it, I'm documenting erratic behavior and possible impairment. Security's already been called. My blood went cold. Impairment meant drug testing, license suspension, career over. Jennifer was starting her sophomore year at UC Davis in 2 months, and I needed every penny of my pension to keep her in marine biology classes. Anthony Walsh wasn't just firing me, he was trying to destroy my life because I wouldn't let him get people killed." "Carl," I said to my apprentice, "you hearing this?" The kid nodded, his face pale. Carl had grown up hearing stories about his father from me and the other Navy guys who came around for backyard barbecues. Danny Weber had been the kind of Marine who'd rather die than compromise on safety, and his son was cut from the same cloth. "What are we going to do?" Carl asked. I looked down at the port from my perch in the crane cab. Anthony Walsh was standing next to a security car, arms crossed, staring up at me like he'd already won. The smug little weasel had no idea what he'd just started. Next to him was Tommy Miller from Port Security, a decent guy who'd been there almost as long as me. Tommy looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot like he knew something wasn't right. "Carl, you know what your daddy used to say about bullies? That they only understand one language. That's right. Force. Not violence, but force. Show them they can't push you around, and they'll find easier targets." I keyed the radio. "You know what, Walsh? You want me to stop following safety protocols? Fine, but I've got one last container to move first. The thing about being a crane operator for 26 years is you develop an eye for things that don't belong. Container 401 Alpha had been sitting in Stack 7 for 3 days, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was how Anthony Walsh had been handling it personally. No ground crew involvement, no standard routing procedures, just Walsh and a clipboard, checking on it twice a day like he was guarding state secrets. I'd moved that container yesterday for repositioning and something felt off. The manifest listed it as recycled steel components bound from Malaysia, total weight 18,000 pounds. But when I lifted it, my crane's load display showed 38,000 pounds. That's a hell of a discrepancy for scrap metal. You learn to trust your equipment in this business. Scales don't lie, but manifests sure do. I'd been documenting weight discrepancies for weeks, taking photos with my phone whenever I found containers that didn't match their paperwork. Old habits from the Navy. Always keep records, because when things go sideways, documentation is the only thing standing between you and a court-martial. "Thompson, what are you doing?" Anthony Walsh's voice cracked over the radio as I swung the boom towards Stack 7. "You fired me, remember?" I said, lowering the spreader over container 401 Alpha. The twist locks engaged with that satisfying clank that means everything's properly secured. "I don't work for you anymore, just cleaning up loose ends." Carl was watching everything with wide eyes. "Gary, what's really in that container?" "Good question, kid. Let's find out together. See, the beauty of being fired is that you've got nothing left to lose." Walsh thought he held all the cards because he could destroy my career, but he'd already played that hand. Once a man's got nothing to lose, he becomes dangerous in ways that MBA programs don't teach you about. I lifted container 401 Alpha. The crane's digital display showed exactly what I expected. 38,000 pounds. More than double what the manifest claimed. "Thompson, put that down right now." Anthony Walsh was screaming into his radio, but there was panic in his voice now. The arrogant confidence was gone, replaced by something that sounded a lot like fear. "Funny thing about recycled steel," I said into the radio, loud enough for everyone on the frequency to hear. "It usually doesn't weigh twice what the paperwork says it should." I started swinging toward the main gate. The port only had one exit for container trucks, a narrow causeway flanked by concrete barriers and deep water. It was designed that way for security reasons. Single point of entry and exit. Block that choke point and nothing moved in or out. Anthony Walsh's precious efficiency numbers would be shot to hell, and every truck driver in the port would know exactly why. "You know what I learned in the Navy, Walsh?" I said, positioning the container directly over the exit road. No vehicles underneath, just asphalt and Anthony Walsh's corporate ambitions. Sometimes you've got to take a stand, even when the odds look bad. Down below, I could see Anthony Walsh running, actually running toward the exit gate. He was waving his arms, shouting something I couldn't hear over the wind. Tommy Miller was jogging behind him, looking confused. A small crowd of dock workers had gathered to watch the show, including my buddy Brian Foster, who'd just arrived for his shift. Brian and I go way back. We served together on the Roosevelt, worked construction together after we got out, and these days he does private investigation work for insurance companies. Brian knows how to read a situation, and he was already pulling out his phone, probably taking pictures of the whole thing. "Thompson, I'm ordering you to stand down," Anthony Walsh screamed into the radio. "That container contains sensitive equipment." "Thought it was recycled steel," I replied calmly. "That's what the manifest says anyway. You calling your own paperwork a lie?" The radio went silent. Anthony Walsh had just admitted, in front of witnesses and on a recorded frequency, that the container held something other than what was documented. In shipping, that's called manifest fraud, and it's a federal crime. "Gary," Carl said quietly, "my dad would be proud of you right now." "Your dad would tell me to document everything and cover my bases," I said, pulling out my iPhone. The newer cranes have GPS tracking and digital load monitoring that uploads to the cloud automatically. Every movement, every weight reading, every radio transmission gets recorded and stored. Anthony Walsh probably didn't know that, being new to the business and all. "Here's your lesson in physics, Walsh," I said into the radio, my finger hovering over the release button. "Force equals mass times acceleration, and gravity doesn't care about your quarterly numbers. Thompson, don't you dare. I'll have you arrested. I'll sue you for everything you own." "You already took my job and tried to destroy my reputation," I said. "You threatened my daughter's future because I wouldn't let you get people killed. You've got nothing left to threaten me with." The wind was picking up, making the container sway slightly. In the distance, I could see storm clouds building over the Pacific. Weather was coming in, which meant we'd probably lose the afternoon shift anyway. But Anthony Walsh didn't know that, being the kind of manager who spent more time in conference rooms than actually watching operations. "Last chance, Walsh," I said. "You want to explain why this container weighs 38,000 pounds when your manifest says 18,000? You want to tell Tommy Miller and the Port Authority why you've been handling this shipment personally instead of following standard procedures?" The radio stayed quiet. Anthony Walsh knew he was caught. Whatever was in that container wasn't supposed to be there, and now everyone within 5 miles knew it. I thought about Jennifer, studying hard at UC Davis, trusting that her old man would figure out a way to keep her in school. I thought about Carl, learning to be a man from watching how the men around him handled pressure. I thought about Danny Weber, who died in Afghanistan because someone higher up the chain decided to cut corners on equipment maintenance. "This is for every safety violation you've ignored, Walsh," I whispered into the radio. I hit the release. For a split second, Container 401 Alpha hung in the air like a giant red brick waiting for physics to remember its job. The wind caught it slightly, making it rotate just enough to align perfectly with the exit lanes. Then gravity took over, and 38,000 pounds of steel, and whatever Anthony Walsh was trying to hide, came crashing down onto the asphalt with a sound like the world ending. The impact shook the entire crane tower. Car alarms started going off in the parking lot. Seagulls took flight in a screaming cloud of panic. And from 180 feet up, I had the best seat in the house to watch Anthony Walsh's carefully constructed scam come apart at the seams. Literally. The force of the impact split Container 401 Alpha's seam like a zipper. What spilled out onto the asphalt wasn't recycled steel components. It was brand new copper wiring, server racks, and industrial networking equipment. hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of electronics that should have been installed in the new data center project across town. Holy shit, Carl whispered, staring down at the wreckage. Language, kid, I said, but I was thinking the same thing. This wasn't just manifest fraud. This was straight-up theft on a scale that would make federal prosecutors salivate. From my perch 180 feet up, I had the perfect view of Anthony Walsh losing his mind. He was running around the spilled equipment like his hair was on fire, trying to throw tarps over everything while yelling at Tommy Miller and the other security guards. But it was too late. Half the port crew had gathered around to gawk at the mess, and every one of them could see that the recycled steel was actually brand new computer equipment worth more than most of them made in a year. I shut down the crane and pocketed the key fob. Carl, you know what's about to happen, right? The kid nodded. Police are going to want to talk to us. That's right. And when they do, you tell them exactly what you saw and heard. Anthony Walsh ordered me to skip safety inspections, then tried to fire me when I refused. Everything else follows from that. I opened the cab door and stepped out onto the catwalk. The Pacific breeze felt good on my face, and I could smell rain coming in with the storm clouds. It was going to be a long day, but at least it was starting to look like a good one. The climb down took me 15 minutes. My knees aren't what they used to be, especially after too many years bouncing around on aircraft carrier decks. But I wasn't in any hurry. The longer Anthony Walsh had to sweat, the more mistakes he'd make. By the time I reached the bottom, the scene had turned into organized chaos. Officer Danny Rodriguez from Port Security was setting up a perimeter around the spilled equipment, while Tommy Miller was trying to keep the growing crowd of spectators back. Anthony Walsh was having what looked like a heated phone conversation, pacing back and forth with his hand over his free ear. Hell of a mess you made, Gary, Danny said as I walked up. He's good people, been working port security for 15 years, knows the difference between real troublemakers and guys having a bad day. Accident, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. Equipment failure. These things happen when you skip maintenance checks. Carl had climbed down behind me and was standing quietly to my left, taking everything in. The kid was learning fast that sometimes the best thing to do in a tense situation is keep your mouth shut and your eyes open. Anthony Walsh finished his phone call and came storming over, his face purple with rage. "Arrest him!" he screamed at Danny Rodriguez. "He destroyed company property. He blocked a federal transportation route." Danny looked at Anthony Walsh, then at the spilled equipment, then back at me. "Gary, you been drinking today?" "Stone sober, Danny. Want to test me?" The breathalyzer read 0.00, which made Anthony Walsh's face go from purple to gray in about 2 seconds. His whole story about me being impaired had just evaporated in front of witnesses. "Now," Danny said, "about moving this container, we're going to need that crane operational." "Can't help you there," I said, holding up my empty hands. Key fob's gone. Slipped right out of my fingers while I was shutting down. Terrible accident. "Where is it?" Anthony Walsh demanded. I pointed to the dark water of the harbor. "Bottom of the Pacific by now. Those digital keys don't float." That's when Anthony Walsh really lost it. "You sabotaging piece of garbage. Do you know what you've done? That container contains sensitive equipment." "Thought it was recycled steel," I said. "That's what the manifest says anyway." Danny Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Mind if we take a look at that manifest, Mr. Walsh?" While Anthony Walsh fumbled with his tablet, looking more panicked by the second, I pulled out my phone. Modern cranes have GPS and load monitoring systems that automatically upload data to the cloud. I'd been documenting weight discrepancies between manifests and actual loads for weeks, and every bit of it was stored on secure servers that Anthony Walsh couldn't touch. "Danny," I said, "you might want to take a look at these photos." I showed him the pictures I'd taken of containers with suspicious weight readings, shipping, manifests that didn't match actual loads, and Anthony Walsh's private meetings with equipment vendors. I'd been building a case without even knowing it, just following the documentation habits the Navy had drilled into me. "Gary, this looks like..." Danny started to say, then stopped. He was looking at something over my shoulder. I turned around to see my buddy Brian Foster walking toward us with a thick manila folder under his arm. Brian looked like he'd been expecting this moment for weeks. "Gary," Brian said, nodding to me. "Mr. Walsh." He turned to Danny Rodriguez. "Officer, I think you're going to want to see what I've got here. Brian Foster and I go way back to our Navy days, but these days he works as a private investigator for insurance companies. Mostly he tracks down workers' compensation fraud, but sometimes he gets called in on bigger cases. Turns out, Bay Maritime Holdings Insurance Company had hired him 3 months ago to investigate suspicious cargo claims. Mr. Walsh, Brian said, opening his folder, would you like to explain why you've been reporting equipment thefts to collect insurance payouts, then shipping that same equipment overseas through shell companies? Anthony Walsh looked like he was about to vomit. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I've got invoices, shipping records, and bank transfers that tell a pretty clear story. Brian pulled out a stack of documents. Container 401 Alpha was supposed to contain server equipment for the Coastal Data Center project. That equipment was reported stolen 3 weeks ago. Insurance paid out $340,000 to replace it. Danny Rodriguez was taking notes now, and I could see him starting to understand the scope of what we were dealing with. This wasn't just about one container. This was about a systematic scheme to defraud the insurance company. But here's the interesting part, Brian continued. According to the shipping manifest, this container was headed to a company called Pacific Recycling Solutions in Malaysia. Except Pacific Recycling Solutions doesn't exist. The address is a mail drop in Kuala Lumpur. Anthony Walsh was backing away slowly, looking for an escape route. But the crowd of dock workers had formed a loose circle around us, and they weren't looking particularly friendly. These guys had been dealing with Anthony Walsh's efficiency demands for months, and now they were finding out he'd been stealing from the company the whole time. There's more, Brian said. I traced 4 other containers over the past 3 months, all with the same pattern. Equipment gets ordered for legitimate projects, then gets reported stolen, then gets shipped out under fake recycling manifests. Total value of the stolen equipment is about $1.2 million. $1.2 million. That was serious federal crime territory. That was the kind of money that got you real prison time, not just a slap on the wrist. Officer Rodriguez, Brian said, handing over his folder. I think the port authority is going to want to take a very close look at Mr. Walsh's shipping records. Danny Rodriguez was already on his radio, calling for backup and requesting a detective. Anthony Walsh was standing there like a deer in headlights, probably realizing that his corporate fast track had just turned into a one-way ticket to federal prison. You know what the funny thing is, Walsh? I said, walking over to stand in front of him. If you'd just let me do the brake inspection this morning, none of this would have happened. That container would be on a ship to Malaysia by now, and you'd still be stealing from the company. Anthony Walsh's mouth was opening and closing like a fish out of water, but no sound was coming out. But you had to push, I continued. Had to threaten my job, my reputation, my daughter's future. Had to prove you were the big shot who could make the old Navy guy back down. I stepped closer, close enough that only he could hear me. Here's what you never learned in business school, kid. When you back a veteran into a corner, you better hope he doesn't have access to heavy equipment. The sound of sirens was getting closer. The Port Authority police were on their way, and behind them would come the federal investigators who specialized in cargo fraud. Anthony Walsh's day was about to get a whole lot worse. But my day was looking up for the first time in months. Carl, I said to my apprentice, you're about to see what real justice looks like. The Port Authority police arrived with all the subtlety of a freight train. 3 cruisers, lights flashing, followed by an unmarked sedan that screamed federal investigation. Detective Sarah Martinez stepped out of the lead car, took one look at the chaos around the gate, and walked straight over to where Anthony Walsh was standing. Mr. Walsh? I'm Detective Martinez, Port Authority Criminal Investigation Unit. I understand we have some questions about cargo manifests and insurance claims. Anthony. Walsh looked like he was about to make a run for it, but there was nowhere to go. The spilled container had blocked the only vehicle exit, and the dock was surrounded by water on 3 sides. He was trapped like a rat on a sinking ship. This is all a misunderstanding, Anthony Walsh stammered. That man, he pointed at me, deliberately sabotaged port operations. He should be the one under arrest. Detective Martinez looked at me, then at the evidence spread across the asphalt, then back at Anthony Walsh. Sir, I'm going to need you to explain why a container manifested as recycled steel contains $340,000 worth of server equipment that was reported stolen 3 weeks ago. Brian Foster handed over his investigation files, and I could see Detective Martinez's eyebrows climbing higher with every page she turned. Insurance fraud, cargo theft, manifest falsification. Anthony Walsh had managed to violate about half the federal criminal code in his quest to maximize quarterly profits, Mr. Walsh, Detective Martinez said, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, theft of interstate shipments, and falsification of federal shipping documents. The handcuffs clicking shut on Anthony Walsh's wrists was the most beautiful sound I'd heard in months. Carl was standing next to me, watching everything with wide eyes, learning what happened when you tried to bully people who knew how to fight back. "Gary," Detective Martinez said after Walsh had been loaded into a patrol car, "we're going to need a full statement from you about this morning's events." "Happy to cooperate," I said. "But first, I've got some documentation you might find interesting." I showed her the photos on my phone, weeks of weight discrepancies, suspicious containers, and Anthony Walsh's private meetings with equipment vendors. The Navy had taught me to keep records, and those records were about to put Walsh away for a long time. The crane manufacturer sent a technician out that afternoon to replace the lost key fob. Took him about 20 minutes to get the system back online, which was 20 minutes longer than Anthony Walsh had wanted to wait for a brake inspection that morning. Funny how time works out sometimes. Bay Maritime Holdings called an emergency board meeting that evening. By the next morning, they'd offered me my job back with a promotion to Port Safety Director and a $18,000 raise. Turns out they really needed someone who understood the difference between efficiency and cutting corners that could land them in federal court. The best part? Carl Weber got fast-tracked to full operator certification. The kid had proven he could keep his head under pressure and stick to proper procedures even when some MBA in a suit was screaming at him to cut corners. His father would have been proud. 3 months later, Anthony Walsh pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges and got sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. His uncle from corporate showed up at the sentencing, but there wasn't much he could say. When you steal $1.2 million from your own company and defraud insurance companies, even family connections can't save you. The money got recovered mostly. The equipment in my container was returned to the data center project, and the insurance companies got their payouts back. Bay Maritime Holdings used some of the recovered funds to upgrade safety equipment across the port, which was about the only good thing Anthony Walsh ever contributed to the operation. Jennifer finished her sophomore year at UC Davis with a 3.8 GPA. When I told her the story about the container drop, she just laughed and said, "Dad, you know there are easier ways to deal with workplace harassment, right?" "Maybe," I said, "but none of them would have been half as satisfying." These days I spend more time in the office than in the crane cab, reviewing safety protocols and training new operators. We've got a strict 200-hour inspection schedule that nobody questions anymore, and our safety record is the best it's been in 20 years. Carl's working full-time now, running his own crane on the afternoon shift. Last month he caught a manifest discrepancy that probably prevented another theft. Kid's got good instincts, just like his father. I still climb up into the crane cab sometimes when we need an experienced hand, or when the weather gets rough. There's something about being 180 feet up that gives you perspective on things. From up there, you can see the whole port spread out below you. The trucks coming and going, the ships bringing in cargo from around the world, the people working together to make it all happen safely. People ask me if I was scared when I dropped that container, if I worried about losing everything. Truth is, I was terrified. But here's what I learned in the Navy and what I tried to teach Carl. Sometimes you've got to take a stand, even when the odds look bad. Especially when the odds look bad. Anthony Walsh thought he could steamroll over guys like me because we needed our jobs. He figured we'd swallow our pride and look the other way rather than risk our livelihoods. What he didn't count on was that some principles are worth more than a paycheck, and some people have access to heavy equipment when you push them too far. The key to dealing with bullies like Walsh is documentation, allies, and timing. I had photos, weight records, and Brian's investigation. I had Danny Rodriguez, who knew right from wrong. And I had 26 years of experience that told me when something wasn't safe. Most importantly, I had a 25-ton container and the high ground. Sometimes that's all you need. The port's running smooth these days. We follow all the safety protocols, the manifests match the actual cargo, and nobody's trying to cut corners that could get people killed. The new management actually listens when the operators raise safety concerns. And every time I drive past that patched section of asphalt where Anthony Walsh's container hit, I remember that gravity doesn't care about your MBA or your corporate connections. It just does what it does, every single time, exactly according to the laws of physics. Just like justice, when you give it enough time, the right opportunity, and maybe a little help from 25 tons of falling steel. There's a flag that flies over the port entrance, same one that's been there since Old Man Patterson's time. American flag, flying proud over American workers doing honest work for honest pay. Every morning when I drive through that gate, I see that flag and remember that this is what we're really fighting for: the right to do our jobs safely, to provide for our families, and to stand up to anyone who thinks they can push us around just because they wear a suit instead of work clothes. Anthony Walsh learned that lesson the hard way, but at least he learned it. And Carl Weber learned something too, that when you're right and you've got the documentation to prove it and you're not afraid to use the tools at your disposal, you can take on anyone, even the guy in the expensive suit who thinks he owns you. That's a lesson worth 25 tons of falling steel any day of the week. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to drop something heavy on the problem and make sure everyone's watching when you do it. They teach you a lot of things in business school, but they never teach you what happens when you mess with a man who's got 26 years of experience, nothing left to lose, and access to a 25-ton attitude adjustment.